When it's windy on the golf course, a lot of people think they can fight through the wind by swinging even harder. That's the exact wrong thing to do. The saying goes, when it's breezy, swing easy. That's because an easy swing puts less spin on the ball. When it's windy, spin is your enemy because the wind is going to pick it up easier if it's spinning and it's going to take it off course. So you want to try to hit it a little bit easier and you want to try to hit it a little bit lower in the wind because the most powerful parts of the winds are usually a bit higher, and if you can hit it lower than that most powerful part of the wind, you're in business. So remember, when it's breezy, swing easy. Okay, let's explore the wind now from a scientific perspective. What is wind? Winds can range from a light breeze on a hot summer day to tornadoes and hurricanes with speeds of over 100 miles per hour. Have you ever wondered what causes all this? How is wind formed? Well, it's kind of complicated. Wind is the movement of air caused by the uneven heating of the earth by the sun. Wind doesn't have much substance. You can't see it, you can't hold it, but you can feel its force. What causes winds? Differences in atmospheric pressure create winds. At the equator, the sun warms the water and land more than it does the rest of the globe. Warm equatorial air rises higher into the atmosphere and then migrates toward the poles. This is a low pressure system. At the same time, cooler, denser air moves over Earth's surface towards the equator to replace that heated air. That's a high pressure system. So winds generally blow from high pressure areas to low pressure areas. That's kind of how a waterfall works too, if you think about it. The water falls from a high area to a lower area. Generally, prevailing winds blow east to west rather than north to south. This happens because Earth's rotation generates what is known as the Coriolis effect. The Coriolis effect makes wind systems blow counterclockwise in the northern hemisphere and clockwise in the southern hemisphere. Now that you know a little bit more about how wind works, let's explore how you can use wind to do work. Wind in a natural environment is capable of doing big jobs. It can dry your clothes, it can make your flag fly. Sailboats and ships have been using the power of wind for centuries because wind is strong enough to carry them across lakes and oceans. When we capture the power of the wind and use it to do work, we call it wind energy. In our modern age, we can use wind energy to make electricity. In the old days, windmills would be used to grind grain and pump water. Today, old-fashioned windmills have been replaced by large wind turbines that can catch the power of the wind and turn it into electricity. How do wind turbines work? Wind turbines often have long blades that look like the petals of a flower. When the wind blows past the turbine, the blades turn. This turning is connected to parts inside the turbine, which move another part called a generator. This converts the wind energy into electricity. Wind turbines can be grouped together into wind farms. But there are no animals or crops on a wind farm. Wind farm is just a name for a spot where many turbines are clustered together in a field so that they can produce a lot of electricity. The electricity made by a wind farm goes to the main power grid, which then sends the electricity to homes and businesses. Pros and cons of wind energy. The Earth will never run out of wind, so wind is a renewable source of energy. Wind energy is also clean energy because it doesn't put any pollution into the air or water. One of the problems with wind energy is that the wind doesn't always blow, so wind energy can be unreliable. Also, the amount of wind is different in different areas. Developers of wind farms have to do studies before they set up wind turbines to make sure that the area has enough wind to be worthwhile. To help you understand the power of wind, today we have two activities. You can choose to do one or both. We are going to make a kite. You can see our kite here out of normal paper, and I've attached a ribbon to it. And we're going to make a rocket pinwheel. I'm going to start with a rocket pinwheel. I want you to take a close look at this rocket pinwheel. I have a pencil here only because it has an eraser that is easy to stick a pin into. Then we have a bendy straw, and look at the orientation of the bendy straw. The bendy part goes sideways. It does not go up or down. It's very important that it goes on there sideways. And then I have a balloon here. I need a few items. Something like a pencil with an eraser on it so you can stick a pin into it. This is some pins here. You're going to need either a rubber band or some tape, something to put the balloon onto your straw. Make sure you do have a balloon. And the straw, it's got to be a bendy straw. And when you put it on, you need to make sure it's not facing up like this or down like this, but to the side like that. First thing to do is take your balloon and gently put it over just an inch or so over the straight part of the straw. The bendy side should be on the other end. Now you want to affix it in place. There are two methods you could do this with. One method is to take a rubber band, put it around there, and then of course make a few circles with a rubber band to put it over there. If you do this method, make sure that the rubber band is tight on there, but not so tight that it squeezes the straw and prevents the air from going through to the balloon. Some people don't like the rubber band method because it's hard to put the rubber band on and spin it around like that. That's okay. If you don't want to use a rubber band, you could use tape. Get yourself a nice piece of tape, and you're going to tape it around the neck of the balloon here. Make sure it's attached to the straw. And again, you want to go pretty tight around there, but not so tight that you're squeezing the straw. You want to make it so air can get in, but can't get out of the balloon. And make sure that you do not tape the body of your balloon down. Uh-oh. You can test it out by blowing into this part of the straw and seeing if it actually blows up your balloon. Works for me. Next thing you're going to do is you're going to take your pen and your pencil here, but be really careful with this pen. You might even want to have an adult or an older sibling do it for you if you're not comfortable, because I don't want you to prick yourself. Okay, you're going to do this very precisely. Pay attention now. Take your straw and put it on so it's about halfway down the length on top of the eraser. Hold it there for a second. Check the flexible bendy part to make sure it's going to the side and not up and down. Okay, now very carefully, you are going to push the pin. You might even have to pull it away. Push the pin through the straw like that, so it goes through both ends. That's the scary part. I don't want you to prick your finger. Maybe have somebody else do it. And then take the bottom of the pin and put it into the eraser like that. And again, careful with your straw. You don't want to squish it. You want to make sure it has room to spin around like that. Okay, and once you've done that, you're pretty much ready to go. You're going to blow into this and fill up your balloon, and then you're going to let it go, and it should spin around like a windmill. Like a windmill. Activity 2 is to make a kite. Here's our kite. You can see a long ribbon attached, and then the string for the kite is attached here. I'll show you how to do it. Here's what you need. You need an ordinary sheet of paper. I think computer printing paper is pretty good. You're also going to need a straw. This is a straight straw. If you only have a bendy straw, then I'm going to recommend that you cut off the bendy part so that you're left with just a straight straw. You're going to need some tape, some scissors, string. If you have a big coil of string like this, that'll be perfect. If not, just get as much string together as you can. You've probably flown a kite before. You know it takes a lot of string, but it doesn't necessarily need this much string. And an option that might be fun for you is to have some ribbon to attach to it. And you'll probably want something to write with as well. A ruler might be helpful also. Take your paper, fold it in half, hamburger style, and make sure you line it up well so there's not anything going over the sides. Once you have it lined up well, put a nice crease in there. If you have a ruler, it'll come in handy now. If you don't have one, just kind of do your best estimate here. You want to put a little dot about 1 inch away from the folded side. And then you're going to go down to the open side, the flappable side here, and you're going to measure about 1 inch inward and put a dot there too. Okay, so a dot here and here. If it's not 1 inch, it's okay. Just try to make it close. Now line up your straight edge on those dots. Try to make this as straight as possible. You should really try to use a straight edge. It'll make your kite come out better. If you don't have a straight edge, then be really careful freehanding so that you make as straight a line as possible. There it is. Okay, now you're going to want to fold your paper back along this line. Now try to go exactly on the line. If you made something with your straight edge, it might even have a little crease in it already to make it easier to fold. There we go. Okay, should look like that. Okay, now take the other side and fold it backwards. So it's like a mirror image, a reflection of what you just did. Try to line up the edges if you can. If you've ever made a paper airplane, you've probably done something similar to this. And then crease that down. Okay, and you should have something that looks kind of like this right now. Okay, take this part that you folded back and make it straight again, but keep one side folded, and then we're going to put some tape right along here to tape that down. Okay, I'm going to rearrange it kind of like that. All I did was flip it over. And I'm going to put my straw right here. And you can line it up based off of these edges here and just try to put your straw pretty straight across. And then tape it on. I'm going to tape like lengthwise like that, a few pieces. Okay, that straw is on there, nice and tight. It's not going anywhere. And all right, next thing we're gonna do, we've flipped it over so that this side is up. That's like the spine of it. Here's my original kite. We're gonna put a hole right here. Notice how there's some paper on either side so that the string will be able to stay put. And what you can do is you can actually put a piece of tape over this part before you put the hole, and that will help to keep and reinforce the paper so that it doesn't break when the string is in there. So you want about, about a third of a way down, maybe right about there. Put a piece of tape there. And then you're going to poke a hole through there. You might want to have somebody do it so you don't poke your fingers. I think I have a hole punch. I'm going to see if I can find one. There we go. I have a hole punch. Okay, like that. See how? If you have any ribbon that you want to put on, now is the time to do it. This is an optional part. I'm honestly not sure if it helps the kite fly or not. But if you have a heavy piece of ribbon, you don't want to use very much. If you have something that feels very light and airy, you can use a long piece. Okay, I have my ribbon. I'm going to tape it to the bottom of the kite. You can tell it's the bottom because it's the opposite side of where the straw is. Okay, you probably need a few pieces of tape on there. Almost done. Last thing to do is take the string and put it inside of the hole. And then kind of tie it around. You want it to be a tight knot, but you don't want to scrunch up the paper with the knot. That's why I like to leave a little bit of space here, like that. That might be hard to do, so just do the best that you can and try to keep the paper from scrunching up. And you should have it attached like that. If you really can't tie a knot, you could probably tape it on and it'll be fine. Now you're ready to fly. Explore that wind power. Whee! Hope you enjoyed today's lesson on wind power. See you tomorrow.